Doing is verifying that you have it. You got 2 different purchases. Okay. If you have them, I'm out of here. That's how quick it is. Yeah.
Suppose that you're enjoying a calm afternoon with your family when somebody rings your bell. You peek through your peephole and you see 2 ATF agents standing on your doorstep. They want to see your recent firearms purchase to maintain their record. In this situation, what should you do? Well, we're going to talk about 5 crucial rights that you've got when cops either pull you over or show up at your doorstep to check your guns. This is important information, so don't go anywhere. Because remember, a country that's disarmed is ripe for the picking. Your first right, practice your Second Amendment right.
You can go out to your foyer here, check them out, fight serial number, and we're out of here.
That's it?
Yep.
That's it. It'll take 5 seconds.
This happened almost 2 years ago when ATF members started showing up on the doors of people who had purchased more than 1 firearm at the same time. So what really happens here is when you purchase 2 or more firearms together, your FFL sends a chart to ATF members. In this footage, the officers have that chart in their hands. Well, what's actually happening in the footage is that ATF members, along with an officer, show up at the door of a person and express their interest in seeing their firearms. He's got a chart of 7 firearms with serial numbers and a firearms list, and he wants to check if the person still owns them. These ATF members have a reason for this search. They claim that people often buy firearms under their name, but give them to those who are not eligible to buy guns. This could cause safety issues, so they want to confirm that the person who buys firearms still has them.
So the idea is when you purchase more than 2 guns at a time, it generates a multiple sale report. And he comes to us and we have to check him out. Okay. That's all that is. He did nothing wrong. Did absolutely 0. I noticed that you were stopped in Philly though, right? With one of your guns?
This is a tense situation, especially for those who have more than 1 firearm. If officers show up at your door or stop you on the road when you've got multiple firearms, you might feel tense. They could also make you feel guilty for having firearms in your possession. Or they might say to you, you're a flagged person because you have multiple guns with you. Now, if you ever face this kind of situation, you should know about your Second Amendment right. This amendment gives every person the right to have firearms, as many as they want, in their possession. You can legally buy a lot of firearms if you feel threatened for your safety. U.S. law has given you this permission. So, next time any ATF member or law enforcement officer tries to make you feel uneasy or flags you for having guns in your possession, state your Second Amendment rights. And here's another fact. The Second Amendment law doesn't state that the person who has bought firearms should have them in their possession at all times. So, if ATF members are saying that they want to ensure you still have your guns, they don't have any legal grounds for this claim. You can actually sue them for this. Number 2, just ask the cops to leave.
If you can unload him and bring him out, or you can go out to your foyer here, check him out, fight serial number, and we're out of here.
So you're busy doing house chores when cops show up at your door. They ask you to show your guns that you've recently purchased. So, what should you do right here? A lot of lawful citizens will open the door and will talk to cops. Some will show their guns, and maybe a few will even invite them into their homes. These people believe that cops are doing a really hard job in keeping society safe, so we should cooperate with them and do everything they say. But in being cooperative, they forget that officers are also humans and they've got their own biases. They're on your doorstep because they've got a sneaky suspicion about you and they want to confirm if it's right. So, it's just best that you practice your rights properly to protect yourself from any trouble.
You live here with who?
I'm not answering any questions.
Bingo. You're being detained at this point. You need to sit down. You need to sit down.
For this, you should know your 4th and 5th Amendment rights. The 4th Amendment right protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. It means if cops show up at your door without any kind of warrant, you're not obliged to open the door or even talk to them. In fact, you should always ask them about the warrant first thing in your conversation. Now, if they don't have any search or arrest warrant against you, you can also ask them to leave. You can state, officers, I want you to leave my property instantly under my 4th Amendment rights. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, what if cops do this to you?
In this newly released video of Metro police officers executing a search warrant, it takes less than 30 seconds of their warnings for them to start prying off the lock at the wrong home.
Here's the thing, officers can force their way into your home if they have specific warrants against you. If they don't, they need your counsel to check your guns or even step foot into your property. Here's the thing, you don't have to open up the door. In fact, you should never open the door for cops. I can't say that enough. Always ask about why they're on your doorstep in the first place, but ask inside your house through your door. In the case of ATF officers, you've also seen how the person has opened the door and talked to the cops. This was the wrong move, and the person started feeling pressured and nervous due to this conversation. There's another example of this same kind of situation.
I will talk to you outside. I have a warrant to be inside. I will talk to you outside.
You're not going to step outside your house.
You do not have a
We're
warrant
gonna
to be
talk
inside
right
of my house.
I'm not inside your house.
You're inside of my house.
Let me tell you why I'm right here.
Because you walked in.
No, because they opened the door and ran from me.
And
So yeah, never open your door. And if by mistake you have opened the door, you should practice your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. You can state, "Officers, I plead my fifth and want you to leave my place instantly." Here's the thing, cops are required to acknowledge and listen. And if they don't, you can just simply call your lawyer and sue the cops for violating your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. Number 3, disclose information about your guns. So the previous rights were all about home visits from cops, but right now we're going to talk about what would happen if cops ask you to pull over and when you've got firearms on you. So suppose you're speeding and cops ask you to pull over. You do, you roll down your window, and the first thing the cop asks you is, do you have any weapons on you? Now, here a lot of people might think about lying. Even if they have guns on them, they could decide not to disclose this information to them. If you decide to do this, you could get into trouble. When cops stop you and ask for your license, you're required to show your concealed carry registration papers to them as well. You have to keep these documents with your driver's license and show them to the cops when they ask for them. These papers are legally important, and every state requires you to show them to cops.
It's right there. I would have to pull it up on my cell phone. I do have an electronic copy.
When officers see these papers, they'll instantly know that you've got firearms on you, so they'll ask you questions, and lying here could get you into a lot of trouble. Some people will think that if your state doesn't require you to disclose this kind of information to cops, that you don't need to tell them, right? That's also wrong. When cops pull you over, they might ask you to step out of the car. Do you need to follow the instruction? Yes. You've got to step out and let the cops pat you down to search you to prove that you're not a threat to them. And doing this search, he could find your gun. He could get alert. A lot of incidents happen on the roadside where people point their guns at cops and try to kill them. Just watch.
No! He pulls a gun on the officer. She begs for her life.
No! No, please don't shoot me!
So it's quite natural for cops to become alert when finding a gun on you. They could see it as a threat to their safety and could arrest you under the guise of officer safety, or they could panic and even shoot you. That's why it's best to tell cops that you've got a gun on you and to tell them its location too. Believe me, they're going to appreciate this information, and you could just be in their good books after this.
Hey, how you doing? I got my hands on because I got a valid CCW. I got a loaded firearm on my right side inside my waistband. So, yeah, absolutely.
Here's the thing. It's not just about blurting out, "Hey officer, I've got guns on me," when you roll down the window. Instead, tell them that you've got a concealed carry arms license and a gun on you calmly and respectfully. When you've got a gun on you and they ask you to take out your license or come out of the car, make sure to keep your movements slow. Quick and jerky movements could again make them alert against you, and they could arrest you as they're doing here in this footage.
Have any weapons on you?
Yes, sir.
Where's it located?
My right hip.
Walk backwards to the sound of my voice. Take a step right. The reason why I'm pulling you out of the car is you're making a lot of movements in there. Just kind of raising some red flags, okay? Put your hands on my car.
At this point, the officer will run a check on the firearm.
The girls told him that she's got a gun on her, but her movements lead her to get arrested in the end. So, you should also avoid that mistake too. Number 4, don't treat daytime carry as nighttime carry. Talking about officer safety brings us into this one. Let's say that you've had a great night out with a couple of your friends and you've had a couple of glasses of beer. Well, now you're on your way home and the cops have stopped you for a DWI. You smelled alcohol in your breath and you're also carrying a concealed firearm.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Officer McCord, Swamp Shop Police. Reason for your stop today is you were over the line over here.
If you end up in jail here, you could get two kinds of charges. One's a DWI and the other is illegal possession of firearms. Even though you were legally carrying the gun in your car, the nighttime DUI stop is dangerous. So, how can you avoid the situation? Well, we've talked about DWI numerous times in our past videos, so we're not going to go heavily into this. What we can tell you is what to do when you've got concealed firearms and cops stop you during nights. The first thing you should do is turn on your overhead light. Why? Well, that's because when cops approach you, they're not met with a dark car and a glistening face. This also helps de-escalate the situation by making them feel a little bit more secure. The second thing you should do is turn off your engine. When it's on, the cops might remain tense and ready for you to take off at a moment's notice.
Put it in park. Put it in park now. He's taking off.
So yeah, switching off the car is going to put them at ease and help them relax. The third tip is, again, watch your movements. Nobody needs a jerky smurf. Tip number 5, never reach for your gun. It was July 25th, 2023 when Colorado police stopped an SUV on the road for facing the wrong direction.
The woman inside, later identified as 46-year-old Alicia Duran, initially refuses to roll down the window.
A 46-year-old woman was in it, Alicia Duran. The woman initially refused to roll down the window. On the cop's persistence, she did.
You're in the wrong lane. Are you okay? Are you okay, man? What's going on? Tell me what's going on.
You could hear the cop asking her different questions, but she refused to answer them. Sensing the weirdness of the situation, the cop asked for backup. At that moment, the woman reached for something in her car.
What do you got in there? What do you got in there, man? What do you got in there? What do you got in there? Oh!
Assuming that she was taking out a gun, the cop stepped back and shot at the woman's car. His backup came to arrest her. So why share with you? Well, there's 2 primary lessons for you here. 1, always tell cops that you've got a gun, and 2, never grab for your gun or anything suddenly. We've already talked a lot about the first detail, so let's focus on the second for a moment. Suppose you tell the officer that you're armed, and the officer asks you to hand him the weapon. Now right here, you've got to be extremely careful, otherwise you could end up like Duran. It could happen that your primary officer is asking for the gun, but his backup, who could be in the passenger side, doesn't hear his request. So, seeing you reaching for a weapon could alert him and he could escalate the situation. In this entire scenario, you could even be fatally injured. So, what could you do? When cops ask you to grab your gun, ask for your right to remain silent and safe. If you're gonna reach for your gun, do it calmly and slowly. Don't make any sudden movements that could alert the cops. If there's somebody on your passenger side, make sure that they're aware that you've been requested to hand your weapon to the other officer. Always follow those steps to stay safe. Oh, if you want to know more about your rights, then make sure you watch this video. Until next time, keep practicing your rights and stay safe.